Okay, I'm coming clean, and I don't expect that to be a shock either. My name's George, I'm an online coach and founder of Impact Online Coaching. A few people messaged me more recently and reach out about ADHD. In true ADHD fashion, I recorded a 13-minute video with stories all over the place. So I thought it'd be better if I just sat down and recorded a proper video on it. What is ADHD? Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD is a common neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent patterns of inattention, hyperactivity and or impulsivity that can interfere with daily functioning. Symptoms include divided into inattention, daydreaming, forgetting, poor organization, and hyperactivity, impulsivity, so fidgeting, excessive movement, interrupting others. So that's what it is. So I'm going to give people what I think would be helpful and what my perspective is. So I've been on this self-discovery journey for quite a little while. Lots of ups and downs, lots of trips to the doctors, hard times when I was a lot younger, going to the doctors. I wasn't sure what was wrong. I didn't know why I felt the way that I felt. And over again, it was, to be honest, looking back, really disheartening. I went to the doctors a lot when I was younger. I'm talking 18, 19, 20-ish. I first formally got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 19. Ironically enough, the story evolved that I didn't actually know at the time. I cannot remember being told. When it came to disclosing medical conditions for something later down the line with my health insurance, must have been around 28 at the time, came to light that I've actually got ADHD. The irony of that is I was probably told around that time, must have been looking out the window, probably a squirrel fighting a pigeon of some sort. It's quite funny to look back that, I clearly must have been told. Now, ADHD, to be honest, is taught me a lot about perspective, a lot about making the best of a circumstance you're in, and really just being able to leverage everything that you've got, whether we view it as something wrong with us or whether we view the positives as a result as well. Now, I put this into perspective a lot more when speaking to people and they describe themselves as their own worst enemy. And in a roundabout way, this is probably going to sound quite strange, but yes, we can consider ourselves our own worst enemy, but we can also have the option to consider ourselves our own best friend and our own reason for success. So we can sit and dwell on what we have, what others don't, and vice versa, or we can choose to try our very best to embrace it. And I think that's one of the many gifts that having ADHD has actually taught me. So I've struggled a lot with ADHD over the years. There's quite a lot of things that I understand that I need to work with. I need to try my very best to constantly be aware of them. Now, one of those things is time blindness. I am bloody terrible. I've always been terrible. I remember walking to school in primary school and forever late. I think it was 8:15 or 8:20, or certainly a friend used to wait there, and I was always late. Now, I don't know at that stage whether that was ADHD or not, but that continues probably to this day. I've got terrible time blindness, or certainly strangely, the theory always arises that, okay, well, I've got ready in 16 minutes before, I can do that again. That actually caused me a lot working for a company. I must have nearly got sacked and on a disciplinary about 5 times, sort of 5 years in a row. I remember actually having a conversation, and I don't know why I said it at the time, but I remember having a conversation with the person who was chairing the meeting, and they said, why were you late on this occasion? And I genuinely remember saying I was on my phone, because I think by that point I was probably, there's only so many times you can say that, oh, the dog ate my homework. Okay, well, you don't get homework. So it's always been something that is pretty tough, and I get frustrated every single time. Another thing that I've always struggled with is losing things. So I lose my keys, I lose and misplace a lot of things. I remember hiding my passport because, we want to keep the passport safe. I remember hiding it, and I think within half hour I'd forgotten where I put it. I actually placed it under a flap of a sofa. Little things like that could be quite challenging. I've also got a very strong sense of justice, and again, without running into exact details, I've got myself in quite a lot of circumstances where potentially should have been avoided. I really feel emotions, so highs, lows, I feel them pretty intensely. That's probably one of the biggest struggles that I think is very hard to adapt to. But yeah, highs and lows, and that was one of the many reasons back in the day when I'd go to the doctors so frequently. Obviously at the time I didn't fully understand, but that's one of the things that I really felt, especially back then. I can hyper focus on a lot of stuff in the brain, or at the time it's the most important thing in the world. It needs to be done. I could be going downstairs to tie a shoelace, but I'm in next door's garage painting a motorbike or something similar. Yeah, that's quite a strange, when you actually think back and explain it, that's quite a strange concept. Focusing on things that really seem important, and you convince yourself it's important, but at the time it's not the thing you need to be doing. It's also been very much so prevalent throughout my life that you get an element of strong guilt and strong shame for not being able to do certain things, and I guess it's probably frustration from not doing things that you feel like you're capable of, but certain things get in the way, or you get in your own way. Again, doing things at the last minute, very similar to the time blindness element. It's very common that ADHD people can, when they're in the mode, they can get it done. So you might have 100 hours to complete a 2-hour 24-hour task, but you're able to complete on the last hour, do it to a good standard. So hey, what's a bit of pressure? Now, I do understand a lot more about myself now, as well as tying that in with knowledge on ADHD, or certainly personal knowledge on the subject. Don't claim to know every single thing. Every single person is different, but reward, consequence, as well as, of course, dopamine, I try and leverage them the best I can in order to get through each day. So there's quite a few things that really help me personally. They might not work for anyone else, but hopefully you can take an ounce from this and apply it yourself, and hopefully it does help. One of the first things that I would say, and it genuinely changed a lot for me, is going to the gym and being active. It's no coincidence that it's well researched from an overall mental health perspective, but for me personally, it keeps me leveled out. It gives me something to embrace and put my energy into. Life with the gym and activity is so much better. Another one which might sound strange, but creating novelty. Again, this is why a lot of people with ADHD will hop between trends or hobbies. I try and use it. I might change where my desk is. I might create some form of novelty which is novel enough for me to feel and understand and get that feeling of novelty, but also it's not diverting too much, or there's not sort of a massive financial risk involved as well. Now, this is probably the biggest one. I think if it can help someone like me, I think it can help so many other people. But I write things down. I'm a massive advocate for writing things down. Every single day I'll write something down. I'll write a to-do list, I'll write a done list. So if I go somewhere in the morning, if I go to the gym, I go for a run, or I do something else, I put it on my to-do list. Tick, tick, tick. Now for me, this is the rationale that I think it can help a lot of people who have a lot going on. If we're in a position where there's lots of tabs open upstairs, so let's say for example you got a busy job, lots of responsibilities, a lot of the time it's going to feel like tabs. There's going to be open tabs all the time, and I think it's one of the most important things that I started doing is, let's get those tabs out, put them on paper, close the tabs, and we put them in one place. If they are all over the place, you've got a small notebook over there, you've got a small one over here, you've got a list on your phone, got a whiteboard in the house, that's going to be hard to keep up with. That is essentially just moving the tabs into physical form. Here I have one main notebook, and I also send myself messages on WhatsApp. I know anything that I need to do is in those two places. The reason why I do the WhatsApp is if I'm out and there's something that I need to put on my to-do list, that'll get done, I transfer it over to the notebook. So I know anything that needs to be done is in that one place. The biggest thing that has helped me feel collected, feel clear, have clarity over what I need to do each day, as well as what I need to do sort of on a weekly basis as well. So this is a bit of a category that I've considered as closing the loop. Now, I cannot tell you how many new ideas I come up with, whether it's for scripts, whether it's for business ideas, so many things. And naturally, I don't know exactly if it is an ADHD thing, but others that I've spoke to who have these traits and have ADHD, it's all very common. It's very common that people with ADHD will want to start a new hobby or a new business or something new very often. So I really encourage trying my very best to close that loop. Now, again, when something pops up, we're in this position where it gets prioritized, or certainly we think it needs to be prioritized above everything else. It's a massive rush of dopamine, and we really want to make a start. We really want to get it done. For me, in order for us to stop thinking about something, we need to do something with it. So it's very similar. I was actually explaining to one of my friends about sort of any business ideas or any ideas you get. Once you tell someone, you're not really too fussed about it anymore. Rather than actually telling someone, what I do is I write them down. And I've got a file on my laptop, I write about it, I write my ideas, I get all that excitement out, I close that loop. And lo and behold, once it's out, the loop's closed. So you're not sort of thinking about it all day, you're not thinking about it whilst you're in bed at night. Again, another thing that I'm massive on, when there's a subject or something we're thinking about, it's always going to be in your brain, in your head. Oh, I need to order this, I need to order that. Close the loop, get it done, tick it off. It allows us to then move on with what we need to be doing. So I'll put this into a little more context. Let's say, for example, you meet someone, you spend the day with them and you think, do you know what, that's my best friend forever. The day goes ahead, you then part ways, and when you part ways, you don't take each other's contact details. Because you didn't take the contact details, you're constantly thinking, what if, why didn't I do that? Constantly, it's on loop over and over again. Now, closing that loop would be staying in contact with that person. It's not going to be constantly circling in your head. So I think it's super important for anyone and everyone, ADHD or not, closing that loop is so important. It could be a case of 10 things that you need to do, 10 things you need to order, but you put it off, the loop remains open. So closing those loops is super important, or closing the tabs if you like. So don't get me wrong, all of those things I've just mentioned, I've been frustrated, I've beaten myself up, I give myself a hard time, I've got so frustrated with myself, I feel like I'm getting in my own way. It has been tough before where you think, I'm so driven, but why can't things just click into place? Why can't I get that momentum? But on the other hand, I also look at, what if that's the sole reason as to where I am today? What if this thing that's been villainized organised has actually enabled me to move forward. The sole reason why I become obsessed with helping people, the reason why I'm obsessed with learning, being creative, it's enabled me to be passionate, which again in my line of work is so important because it can't be fake. Quite honestly, I wouldn't care about it. I can be quite funny at times, but only sometimes though. I'm good at solving problems. I'm good at understanding emotions. I'm good at changing my hat and building relationships. I'm very good at spotting gaps and inconsistencies in certain things. I'm a problem solver. So naturally, whether you're ADHD or not, we are so fast to beat ourselves up and beat ourselves down about what isn't perfect, but we're never as quick to look at the positives. We're never as quick to give ourselves a pat on the back. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of downside. It can be tough. But again, the main thing that ADHD has taught me is having perspective, being able to flip things on their head, having that drive, continuing to move forward. So yeah, sure, it can be super restrictive. I'll always find the positives in circumstances and use them as leverage as opposed to the negative. There's a few key points that I'm going to lastly add. When I was younger, I was lost, very lost. As I said, I went to the doctors probably millions of times. I remember seeing one doctor and he said, "What are you doing here?" I mean, I don't know. You tell me, doc. But I didn't give up. That's the most important thing. I persevered and persisted with the doctors. I completed hours of counselling. I took control and I decided to change my behaviours and how I viewed certain things. Reduced alcohol, got some goals, stayed consistent in the gym. So with where I am now, I do take tablets for ADHD. It's not a fix, but it makes things a little clearer. It makes things a little more manageable. I would describe it as reducing the noise. If I was to tell a story, it should go from A to Z. I usually go from A to C to P to D. I'll then nip off to the gym and do a puzzle. It seems to help with overall clarity. There's never any right way to handle or tackle mental health. The most important thing is you continue to push through. If you look for the light, it might not be right now, but you'll always see it eventually. There's no wrong or right way to do it, just the way that works for you. That was very serious and actually kind of emotional, you know. See you on the next one.